from the studios of Farm Journal Broadcast.
Coming up today on Ag Day, putting the brakes on Farm Bill talks. Countdown to steel tariffs as Europe looks for a way out of pain.
We believe that this measure is a safeguard in disguise.
There's plenty to do in Washington. We'll tell you what's still a priority coming up on Ag Day.
In agribusiness, market impact from policies and politics.
I mean, you've got three big policy issues here that we haven't had in the past that we have now with this new administration.
And is cotton in recovery mode?
Ag Day, brought to you by the Chevy Silverado, the most dependable, longest-lasting full-size pickups on the road.
Good morning, I'm Betsy Gibbon. We'll hear from Clinton Griffiths in just a few minutes. We start our week with a long list of Washington policy issues facing America's farmers and ranchers, including a delay in releasing a draft of the Farm Bill. Minnesota Congressman Collin Peterson delivered a letter to Chairman Mike Conaway last week critical of proposed changes to the nutrition title. Peterson is the highest-ranking Democrat on the committee. The letter was signed by the other Democrats on the Ag Committee. They want to see more specific text of the bill as it pertains to government food programs like SNAP. The lawmakers quoting here, "We have grown increasingly concerned about the nutrition policies being pushed by the majority." Peterson ended negotiations because of the objections. Also from Washington, Commerce Secretary Wilbur Ross and European Trade Commissioner Cecilia Malmstrom agreed to meet this week to discuss U.S. tariffs on foreign steel and aluminum. Malmstrom says that the EU, as a close security ally of the U.S., expects to be fully excluded from the tariffs. Malmstrom believes the U.S. used national security as a reason to implement the tariffs. It's nothing but a ruse.
We believe that this measure is a safeguard in disguise, that the security exception that does exist in the WTO, but which is meant to be used for war times, is misused. So we are confident that we could win such a case in the WTO, and we are reaching out to other friends and allies to see if we can make a joint approach to the WTO.
The US is claiming it's all about national security. The EU has already said we think this is just blatant protectionism for those two industries in the US. I think China and the EU might go to the WTO and file a dispute, and then that has to go through the process. I mean, those can take a while. And then the US may be asked to cease and desist if the WTO finds against the US. And if they don't, then China would be legally able to retaliate.
For the first time in 17 years, 5 cabinet secretaries met in one Senate hearing room and testified, and the topic is over rural infrastructure. The 5 secretaries from the Departments of Energy, Labor, Transportation, Commerce, and Ag Secretary Sonny Perdue stressing rural infrastructure goals are long-reaching, from rural roads to rural broadband. Clinton Griffiths has more from Washington.
There's just so much happening here in Washington this week, this month. A lot of issues on the table, including trade negotiations. We just had the tax reform. There are spending bills to get passed, and then we have an Easter holiday. Where do we find the time for other issues? One of those other issues, infrastructure. And it appears that is still a priority for 2018.
If we can get to infrastructure during this session, and everybody hopes we can, and that would get bipartisan support, why we will be working for a rural carve-out. There's a lot of infrastructure in our rural areas that it's just not in good shape. So rest assured that will be a priority for this committee.
And the other thing that we've got the attention of the White House and really all of D.C. is on broadband connectivity with precision agriculture and the sociological impacts of what we can do out there in the e-commerce arena. Farmers are creative people, they're innovators, and they're marketers in a way that if we gave them the connectivity to the world, it's amazing what I think you could see being created, not just in the garages in Silicon Valley, but in the farm sheds and barns across America. This is the interstate highway system of the 21st century. It's data and it's connectivity and the things that it inspires out here in the fields and farm sheds of America could be monumental in our economy overall.
Getting infrastructure done is one thing. We also have the Farm Bill. So much still to happen in 2018. Reporting from Washington, D.C., I'm Clinton Griffiths.
The U.S. Department of Ag is forecasting global cotton stocks to fall to a 6 million bale decline, the lowest since the 2011 through 2012 season. China is one country expected to decrease its stocks significantly. It's just one of the many signs which could potentially sway more acres to cotton in the U.S. With a new safety net, government assistance through a cost-share ginning program, and higher prices, could cotton become king?
Planting intentions are now turning into decisions for the 2018 season. But some growers had a plan long ago.
Usually plant cotton 2 years, then peanuts, follow them with peanuts 1 year. So we pretty much stay on a rotation. Cotton acres may go up a little bit, but I don't see them going up a whole lot.
Both the U.S. Department of Agriculture and the National Cotton Council expecting climbing cotton acres in 2018.
In this part of Texas, it's been more than 100 days of no precipitation, so that's broken a record.
Something NCC took into consideration for its survey.
Due to the dry conditions in the Southwest, the assumed abandonment rates for Texas and Oklahoma were higher than the recent 5-year average.
Despite dryness, questions are raised about the real size of the 2018 crop.
I think the initial numbers from the USDA and the National Cotton Council were probably on the lower side.
I don't think there's going to be a whole lot more, not this year anyway.
Ag Secretary Sonny Perdue announcing earlier in the month the cotton industry will receive marketing assistance payments for the 2016 crop with a ginning cost share program.
This program will help to fill the safety net void until the Title I seed cotton, ARC, and PLC program is implemented beginning with the 2018 crop year.
Entering Title I may be the biggest aid, now official following months of lobbying.
The two main ticket items are cotton and dairy.
The stacks program, the insurance program in cotton did very well.
We need some type of safety net.
Cotton is now covered by the ARC and PLC programs.
I don't think there's a single person in ag circles that would tell you that cotton and dairy weren't the commodities with the poorest safety net, and so that got resolved.
But these changes are not permanent. The cotton industry either needs to lobby for an extension in the upcoming Farm Bill or make a new safety net. In addition, analysts say Farm Bill changes alone won't sway acres.
We haven't met a farmer yet that will rather get their money through government payments than getting it through the market.
But it does make king cotton more competitive with its rival peanuts, especially with price.
They're no longer going to be farming for payments for peanuts. They're going to be market prices, and the market price of cotton right now is more competitive than the market price of peanuts.
I think that's where we're going to see that shift in acres away from some of the peanut acres to some more cotton acres.
Others think the cotton climb won't be as high in some areas due to higher soybean prices.
My forecast is less than it was. I'd hate to put a number on it. I'd like to think it'd be around 13 million acres. But again, the bean market we've seen the last couple of weeks has really changed some of my opinion on that. I think that's one reason why we've seen cotton continue to rally.
But Davis is not new to cotton, and that's why he will continue to plant if the market allows it.
We are predominantly cotton farmers. That's our biggest acreage here on our farm each and every year is cotton.
Mike Hoffman kicks off crop comments this morning and joins us now with more. Mike?
Good morning, Betsy. Our crop comment comes from Jeremy Rowe in Shickley, Nebraska. Jeremy says he's busy with spring work, spreading manure, building fencing, and fertilizing. Jeremy sent this on Friday. Hopefully he missed the rain and snow mix in Nebraska. And taking a look at the estimated rain over the past week from the previous Saturday through this past Friday, you can see not a whole lot across a good chunk of the country. But when you look down into the southeast, especially Mississippi and Alabama, and also parts of eastern North Carolina, some decent amounts of rain there. We'll have your forecast coming up. First, here are some hometown temps.
Save time each day and receive the latest market prices directly to your cell phone with market updates. It makes it effortless to stay aware of shifting market prices. Just text Markets 8 to 31313 to get started.
As we just showed you, there's no shortage of Washington policy issues facing America's farmers. How will the debate impact markets? That's our discussion next on Ag Day.
Stay tuned, folks. We're going to talk news planners.
And scientists head to upstate New York to capture snowflakes. But it's not just about playing in the snow, but there's real research on this snow day.
Ketchup.
With a uniquely powerful formulation of proven ingredients, Resicor corn herbicide gives you extraordinary power.
Who wants dessert?
At least when it comes to weeds.
There are a number of policy issues to navigate which could have its effect on prices, from potential biofuel changes to tariffs to retaliation. What should you be pinpointing? Tyne Morgan discusses an analysis.
Here now with Joe Vaklovic of Standard Grain. Joe, so much uncertainty with the market, specifically with the Trump administration. Are we going to see the administration issue more tariffs, specifically on 100 Chinese products like they've possibly said? Are we going to see retaliation from China? I mean, we just don't know right now. But is that uncertainty truly weighing on prices at this point?
I don't believe it's weighing on prices in a real significant way. Maybe you could argue some of the selling pressure we saw recently in the bean market has to do with concern regarding tariffs. But I mean, you've got three big policy issues here that we haven't had in the past that we have now with this new administration. So you've got the tariff issue, and Trump wants to tariff imports from China on a number of different goods in order to balance out the trade deficit. Any sort of retaliation, especially targeted at ag, would be a big negative. I don't think China's going to put a tariff on U.S. beans, but if they did, it would be a big negative in prices. The other one, and maybe even the bigger issue, the way I see it, is this thing with the RFS. And you've got big oil pushing for a change in the RIN system, which is kind of a complicated system, but essentially what they want to do is they want to put a cap on RIN prices. And I think ultimately, if that were realized, that's something that would be very negative long-term for ethanol and also for corn demand. So there's another headline or policy risk item that we have. The third one that's kind of been on the back burner here recently is NAFTA. And I don't think the president wants to exit NAFTA. I think he's looking to renegotiate. That's why he left Canada and Mexico out of some of these steel and aluminum tariffs that we saw here recently. But that's just another risk. So you've got three big-time items there, any of which, if came to fruition, would have a negative impact on the trade, I think.
Real quick, Joe, I mean, we've seen this battle with the RFS, possibly a cap on RINs. At the same time, we saw EPA Administrator Scott Pruitt say he does support E15 blends. So, I mean, if we would see possibly a cap on RINs, yet we would see the administration come out in support of higher blends of ethanol, do you think that offsets each other?
No, I'm not an expert on the issue, but to my knowledge, we don't want a cap on RINs. That's the worst thing we could do. It would really defeat a lot of what the policy stands for. The higher blend would offset part of that, but no, a RIN cap is really the last thing we want to see as advocates of corn growers and ethanol, really.
All right, thank you for helping us navigate these issues. We appreciate it. Joe, stay with us. We need to take a quick break, and then we'll have a check of weather.
For more information about Standard Grain and its services, call Joe at 312-462-4438. AgDay, brought to you by Resicor corn herbicide, a uniquely powerful formulation, extraordinary power over weeds.
Welcome back to AgDay with meteorologist Mike Hoffman. Mike, when you look at the drought monitor here, man, the plains cannot catch a break. Do you see any relief coming this week?
I know, Texas Panhandle, western Oklahoma, southwestern Kansas. Only if one of the two of these storms comes a state or two farther south, that would help them out a lot. We've seen a lot of these storm systems lately tracking across those areas, but all the moisture is farther north across Nebraska and the South Dakota area. So we need one or two of those storms to come just a little bit farther south, and we'll start to maybe help the drought monitor. But at the moment, I don't see a bunch of relief coming for that area. We go back 1 month, and it was a lot worse over the central Mississippi Valley. That area has been getting some moisture over the past several weeks, and therefore they are pretty much out of the drought situation. Now, obviously, we can always go back into it, but this is a long-term drought. So basically from western Oklahoma, West Texas, all the way into the Four Corner region, that's the worst area, a little bit dry in southeastern Georgia as well. Now the jet stream, as we start this week, we still have the big trough in the east. We have pieces of energy driving through the ridge in the middle of the country, and that next piece really dips a trough by the middle of this week. That's going to be some cold air coming southward into most of the east again, and then we see that move away. The ridge builds into the southeast again by later in the week, and another trough out west. Kind of the same pattern we've been seeing, and that'll continue on in the next weekend as well. Let's check things out then for temperatures this week. I'm going below normal, basically from the Mississippi River eastward through most of the eastern parts of the country, from central and west Texas, western Kansas toward the southwest, above normal temperatures, and below normal for Idaho, western Montana, and most of the west coast. Precipitation for this coming week from the southern Mississippi Valley on into the central sections, eastward to the mid-Atlantic and southern New England will go above normal, below normal for the main part of Florida, below normal for those same warm areas of West Texas, back into much of Mexico, as you can see. Above normal, though, we're going for a couple of systems coming into the west and central Rockies, below normal up along the Canadian border as well. 30-day outlook for temperatures below normal, mid-Atlantic, Great Lakes, northeast, all the way back into the northwest. Above normal for Texas through the Four Corner region. Precipitation over the next 30 days, kind of similar areas. Southern and central Mississippi Valley to the northeast, below normal through the northern plains, southwest, and above normal in the western portions of the country. That is a look across the country. Now let's take a look at some local forecasts. We head to Pueblo, Colorado. First of all, mostly cloudy, breezy, and cool, high of 53 degrees. Springfield, Illinois, breezy with times of rain, high 54. And Dover, Delaware, a mix of sun and clouds with a high temperature around 47 degrees.
Machinery Pete checks in next. He's found some incredible pricing on used planters. And this isn't just playing in the snow. These scientists want to improve the accuracy of measuring water supplies.
AgDay, brought to you by Alivo Seed Treatment from Bayer. Protect your soybeans from SDS and nematodes this season.
Planters are rolling in some parts of the country, but we're still a few weeks away in the Midwest. Machinery Pete says farmers were looking for deals on planters late last year.
Well, folks, I started to see demand go up on used planters end of 2017. In fact, December, we saw a 106% increase in search traffic to machinerypete.com in our planter section. Now, early 2018, I'm seeing continued strength. And if we talk on the dealer front, last month we were filming down in Missouri with a great dealer there, Ag Power Incorporated. Sales manager Aaron Plattner told me, Pete, we actually wish we had a few more of our bread and butter used planters, John Deere 1790, 1632. They were selling so many that they were almost running short. Now, a couple weeks ago, I was on the East Coast in Virginia, filming with a great dealer there, James River Equipment, 45 stores in 4 states. And they sort of echoed the same thing, that buyer demand had been going up a little bit for good condition used planters. Now, on the auction side, I've seen some real solid pricing recently. Last Monday, Farm Auction Northwest Illinois, this 2013 John Deere DB120 48-row 30-inch sold for $167,500. Highest auction price so far this year on a planter. Now the real eye-opener so far this year has been this planter, a 2010 John Deere 1770 NT CCS. And this sold on a BigIron.com online auction. It was February 28th, and the planter came out of southeast Nebraska. And it was loaded, and it sold for $165,250. Now on the red side, here's a picture of a 2015 Case IH 1255 early riser, 24-row 30-inch. This sold on a farm auction in southeast Illinois back on February 21st. I believe it had 4,500 acres on it. Sold for $120,000, very solid auction price.
Well, did you ever try to catch a snowflake as a child? Well, up next, meet some grown-ups who still do.
In the Country, sponsored by Kubota. Tractors, hay tools, utility vehicles, mowers, and more. Visit KubotaUSA.com today.
As winter starts to wind down, you may be ready to say good riddance. But for a couple of scientists in upstate New York, they probably wouldn't mind if winter stuck around for a while longer. That's because they're studying snowflakes. Each individual fragile flake has a story to tell. The team is from Columbia University in New York. They recently headed to the Catskill Mountains to collect data for their study. They hope their study will validate satellite weather prediction models.
We're just going to observe them so that we understand the kind of distribution of shape and size of the snowflakes that are coming down. And this will tell us what's happening also up in the atmosphere besides telling us what's happening here in the snowpack.
That snowpack turns into runoff this spring to help replenish the New York City water supplies. This study will help water regulators to estimate water quantities. They use photos taken from their drone to create a 3-dimensional model of the snow's surface. An infrared camera records the size of snow grains and the layers of snow. The scientists also actually catch snowflakes to register the size and shape of the individual flakes. Next winter, the X-Snow project will include dozens of volunteers to collect snowflake samples. Well, that's all the time we have this morning. We're glad you tuned in. For Tyne Morgan, Clinton Griffiths, and Mike Hoffman, I'm Betsy Gibbon. Have a great day.
AgDay, brought to you by Ram Commercial, America's longest-lasting heavy-duty pickups.